The UFC Middleweight Championship has been held by some of the greatest pound-for-pound mixed martial artists the world has ever seen. Since being introduced in 2001, the undisputed middleweight strap has been the property of 11 different fighters. In this episode, we'll take a closer look at this sought-after championship and the 11 men who've had the honor of putting it around their waists. As always, if you guys enjoy the video, then please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at every middleweight champion in UFC history. Number 1. Dave Menne. The UFC Middleweight Championship has been held by its fair share of legends. That said, the inaugural title holder is a somewhat forgotten fighter by the name of Dave Menne. Menne is a former college wrestler out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, who has notable victories over veterans like Chris Lytle and former UFC welterweight champ Carlos Newton. At UFC 33, a card that Dana White frequently cites as the worst in the organization's history, the Minnesota native took on Gil Castillo to decide the inaugural middleweight champion. That evening, every fight went the distance, including Menne versus Castillo. When the dust finally settled, Dave Menne had become the UFC's first middleweight king. However, his reign would be fairly brief. In September of 2001, the newly crowned champ would attempt to defend his title at UFC 35 against Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu ace Marillo Bustamante. The contest concluded with Bustamante earning an early second-round TKO victory to become the second man to hold middleweight gold. In total, David Menne's inaugural title run lasted 105 days. Number 2. Marillo Bustamante. Having earned a black belt under the legendary Carlson Gracie, Marillo Bustamante would become a world jiu-jitsu champion in 1999. The Gracie protege's elite grappling served him well during a mixed martial arts career full of ups and downs. Like his predecessor, Dave Menne, Bustamante's time as middleweight champ was relatively short. The Brazilian's only title defense took place at UFC 37 in 2002. His opponent would be former Olympic wrestler Matt Lindland. Despite Lindland's grappling pedigree, Bustamante managed to secure a guillotine choke in the third round to retain his title. From there, he unceremoniously vacated the championship after signing with the UFC's rival promotion, Pride. Officially, Marillo Bustamante was a UFC middleweight champion for 267 days. Number 3. Evan Tanner. The late, great Evan Tanner took part in several memorable bouts, while also picking up victories over former title challenger Elvis Sinosic and eventual welterweight champ Ruthless Robbie Lawler. After remaining vacant for over 3 years, the UFC decided it was time to get the middleweight title back in circulation. The men who would compete for the vacant strap would be Tanner and David the Soul Assassin Terrell at UFC 51. That night, Evan Tanner took his opponent to the mat and overwhelmed him with several big shots, forcing the referee to stop the action near the end of the first round. With the win, Tanner had secured the championship and his place in UFC history. That said, Evan Tanner was unable to defend his newly won title. At UFC 53 in 2005, he would face Rich Ace Franklin. Due to a series of cuts and swelling on Tanner's face, the ringside physician decided to stop the fight in the third round, thus making Ace the fourth man to hold the UFC Middleweight Championship. Evan Tanner's run as the division's top dog ended on the 119th day. Number 4. Rich Franklin. Rich Ace Franklin is arguably the UFC middleweight division's first big star. His marketable appearance and skills in the ring helped make him a favorite among many early fans. The Cincinnati-born schoolteacher turned pro fighter was the first man to hold the middleweight crown for an extended period. Franklin defeated several legends of the sport during his illustrious career, including Ken Shamrock, Vanderlei Silva, and Chuck Liddell. As champion, Ace became the first man to defend the title multiple times, having done so against Nate Query and David Lasso, respectively. In August of 2007, at UFC 77, the Ohio native collided with another legend, Anderson the Spider Silva. While Silva's next-level striking was more than enough to dethrone the champ, Franklin did manage to hang on to the belt for an impressive 497 days. Number 5. Anderson Silva. Anderson the Spider Silva is widely considered one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. While his status as MMA's GOAT is debatable, he is by far the most accomplished middleweight champion the UFC has ever seen. After the Brazilian Muay Thai specialist defeated Rich Franklin for the title, he would embark upon a historic title run. His record-setting reign was highlighted by finishing some of the best fighters of the era, including Dan Henderson, Vitor Belfort, and Chael Sonnen. From the time Silva captured the title in 2006 to when he lost it in 2013, the Spider had successfully defended the crown 10 times. Of course, even the greatest streaks must come to an end. In Silva's case, his remarkable championship run was halted by New York's own Chris Weidman. At UFC 162 in 2013, Weidman shocked the world by knocking out the champ in the second round, becoming the sixth man to hold the gold. When it was all said and done, Anderson Silva had been the middleweight king for 2,457 days, thus making him the longest reigning champion in UFC history. Number 6. Chris Weidman. After ending Anderson Silva's legendary title reign, the All-American Chris Weidman had become one of the UFC's biggest stars. The Long Islander was able to defeat Silva for a second time, albeit due to a gruesome injury, to solidify his status as champion. With the spider in the rearview, Weidman would prove to be a worthy champion in his own right by defeating big-name challengers in Lyoto Machida and Vitor Belfort. In December of 2015, at UFC 194, the All-American would put his title on the line against former Strikeforce champ Luke Rockhold. The bout was fairly competitive in the early going, but the well-rounded Rockhold managed to take over in the fourth round and secure a TKO victory. Rockhold had become the newly crowned champion of the world, with both men earning Fight of the Night honors. At present, Chris Weidman's 889 days as champion makes him the second longest reigning UFC middleweight title holder in the promotion's history. Number 7. Luke Rockhold. Santa Cruz, California's Luke Rockhold is a talented fighter who seemingly excelled at every facet of mixed martial arts. An excellent grappler who could strike with the best of them, Rockhold appeared to have all the tools to put together a lengthy title reign. His signature win list includes names like Lyoto Machida, Jacare Souza, and Michael Bisping. Of course, it would be one of the previously mentioned fighters, Michael Bisping, who would ultimately end Rockhold's championship run. At UFC 199, the California native was set to make his first title defense against the popular Brit. Rockhold was initially supposed to rematch Weidman, but when the All-American stepped out due to injury, in stepped Michael Bisping. Given that the champ had already beaten Bisping in fairly convincing fashion roughly a year and a half earlier, most pundits expected a similar result. However, on the evening in June of 2016, Bisping stunned the MMA world by knocking out his rival in the very first round. Luke Rockhold's seemingly promising title run lasted just 175 days. Number 8. Michael Bisping. Michael the Count Bisping spent a good portion of his UFC career on the verge of title contention, but fell just short of getting his shot at the gold on multiple occasions. When the former Ultimate Fighter winner finally got his chance by stepping in as a last-minute replacement at UFC 199, he made the most of it. Prior to dethroning Rockhold, the Count had won 3 in a row, which included a victory over Anderson Silva in London. During his title run, the future Hall of Famer got a chance to avenge a loss to Dan Henderson at UFC 204 by picking a hard-fought decision victory in a Fight of the Night winner. As it turned out, Bisping would end up losing the championship to a returning George St Pierre in November of 2017. St Pierre managed to cinch in a rear-naked choke in the closing moments of round 3 to end Bisping's reign at the 518-day mark. Number 9. George St Pierre. Much like Anderson Silva, George St Pierre is widely considered one of the best fighters to set foot in a UFC octagon. That said, the Canadian star's middleweight title reign wasn't anywhere near as impressive as his run at welterweight. After submitting Bisping to join the list of fighters who have held titles in multiple divisions, St Pierre decided to vacate the middleweight strap due to a condition known as ulcerative colitis and eventually retire. While St Pierre is regarded as the greatest welterweight champion of all time, he was middleweight king for only 33 days, making him the shortest reigning title holder in the division's history. Number 10. Robert Whittaker. In July of 2017, Robert the Reaper Whittaker defeated Yoel Romero for the interim title in a Fight of the Year contender at UFC 213. As such, when St Pierre vacated the title, the proud Aussie was promoted to the undisputed champion. After his first win over Romero, the Ultimate Fighter winner had won 8 in a row, including victories over Jacare Souza and Derek Brunson. Sadly, the first Australian title holder's days as champion were injury-plagued, and despite a reasonably lengthy reign, Whittaker never officially defended the title. What would have been his only title defense came at UFC 225 in a rematch with Yoel Romero. However, since the Soldier of God missed weight, he was not eligible to win the championship. Finally, in October of 2019, Whittaker would get a chance to put his title on the line in front of his home countrymen at UFC 243. Of course, the MMA gods didn't favor the Reaper that evening. His opponent, interim champ Israel Adesanya, would score a knockout victory late in the second round. Officially, Robert Whittaker was the undisputed middleweight champion for 660 days. Number 11. Israel Adesanya. Reigning middleweight champion Israel the Last Stylebender Adesanya is currently one of the biggest stars in the UFC. After decisively defeating Robert Whittaker at UFC 243, Adesanya would defend his title against 2 of the most feared men in the division, Yoel Romero, and Paulo Costa. In truth, while the stylebender managed to pick up a decision to win over Romero at UFC 248, the fight was a surprisingly dull affair. However, Adesanya followed things up with an exciting TKO victory of the previously undefeated Paulo Costa at UFC 253. Israel Adesanya is looking to build on his legacy when he attempts to become a two-division champion by challenging light heavyweight champ Jan Blachowicz at UFC 259 on March 6th. As always, if you guys enjoyed the video, please be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Apart from that, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.